Hey, what's up, guys? Sanar Edwards here. Welcome back to the Ski channel, Swift Coding for Everyone. We're on to section 2.3 in the book, App Development with Swift. In this particular section, we're going to talk about structures. Now, as you can see from the screen that's up right now, structs are basically a named group of one or more properties that make up a type. So Swift already gives you different types that you can work with, like, text with strings, and you got your numbers with ints, and so on and so forth. But you can make up your own data type or your own type as well. And in the Swift programming language, you have that power through structs. So go ahead and open up a new playground, save it wherever you like, and we'll get started. In this particular video, what I like to talk about is initializers, initialization. We'll talk about methods, and we may even be able to get into some custom initializers. All right. So starting off, the way you create a struct is by using the keyword struct. And for this one, we'll call it car. And we're going to give our car some properties, basically some attributes about the struct. So what do we know about cars? So we know cars have makes, right? So it'll be a string. We know that cars, are models. They have a model name. We know that they come out in a particular year, all right? So we'll call that an int. And then we'll say, we'll go with top speed. All right. So those are the four properties that we created for our car. And right now, these properties do not have an initial value, so they're kind of, so strings initial value for a string is set to empty, like it's just the quotation marks. All right, for ints, they're 0, but we can give them values once we initialize them, and this is what we're going to do. So you can create an instance of the car struct by doing this. So you can say let first car equals, and you call the name of the struct. So in this case, it's car, and you start typing the first parenthesis, and you'll see that all of the properties showed up that we created. So go ahead and hit enter. So what we just did by creating the variable name first car and calling the car, this is all called initialization. Now, when we give it a value, when we give these properties values, like their first values, that is called the initializer, okay? So giving them their values is initializers. And so we'll say, you can say whatever you want to, but I'm gonna just, do the cars that I like. So we got Mercedes-Benz, and the model I like is CLS 550, something slight. Year, let's go with the new thing. 2019, top speed, probably about 155. Second car, so we'll go with car. Make, and we'll say Land Rover. Model, we'll say Range Rover. And year, we'll say 2019. And then this top speed, we'll just say 160. Supercharged. Gotta remember the supercharged, right? All right. So now what we can do is we can add functionality to our struct 2 by giving it some methods. Now, what methods are is so instance methods are basically functions that are created within the the structure, or it could be of a class. So we'll say this. So we'll say func. So it's just like a function. It's exactly alike. It's just that it belongs to this particular struct. So we'll say func, and we'll say start, not strat, start engine. All right, we're not going to really give it any real code or real functionality, but we just want to say, give it a few things that a car does, right? So we'll say func, we'll say drive, and we'll say func accelerate. All right, and we'll just leave it there. So now you can call the instance of, you know, your first car or your second car, and you can tell it to do things now by using the dot notation. So you'll say first car dot, and all of the properties and everything that belongs to the struct, you know, shows up. So now you can say var, you know, you can say first car dot, and you'll say start engine. So, you know, if this was a, you know, a real app or whatever, you know, you'll provide the functionality in there, and you can say, and now the first car, you know, its engine started. And now you can say first car dot drive, and now the car's moving, right? So there you go. So that's an example of a struct, creating the initialization process, and also creating the initializers. You know, giving them the properties, their initial values. All right, and we also learned some things about methods. So for custom initializers, you know, say for instance, if you were creating an app that had to do something with, like, you know, temperature, and in this particular app you wanted to track, you know, Celsius. So we'll say var Celsius will be of a type double, and you can say let temp equals temperature. Let's say double, say 30 degrees Celsius. All right, cool. But what if you had Fahrenheit? You know, what if you had, you know, your temperature in Fahrenheit? What would you do then? So then you have to do something like this. You would have to say let Fahrenheit value, it will be equal to 98.6, I believe, and it'll be minus 32, and then you got to divide that by 1.8. All right, so now you can say let Celsius temp equals, and we'll say it equals Fahrenheit value. Oh, I'm sorry. So what we want to do is this. So what we want to say temperature, and then we'll say for the double, we'll use the Fahrenheit value in there. And now you can call this. So you'll say print Celsius temp dot Celsius. And as you can see, it's 37 degrees in Celsius. Now, all that was a lot of work. Now, you wouldn't want to do that for each different, you know, temperature, you know, conversion that you would do. So you can actually add some functionality inside the struct itself. So I'm gonna get rid of all this for now. So now we can say, so the default name for initializers is the keyword init. And so it's basically like a function itself. It just doesn't have the func keyword, but it does. It basically does the same thing. So we'll say init, and we'll say Celsius as a type double. All right, and then we'll say self.Celsius equals Celsius. Now what this is saying, so this self keyword is referring to the struct, the temperature struct. And it's saying that the Celsius property that temperature owns, this one up here, this property, it equals Celsius, the Celsius within the init, you know, function itself, okay? And now we'll go init, we'll say Fahrenheit. And this is going to be of type double. And so what we want to do now is we want to store the Fahrenheit conversion into the Celsius property. So all you got to do is call Celsius, and you'll say it equals Fahrenheit, do the parentheses. All right, so it would be Fahrenheit, and it'll be minus 32, and then divided by 1.8. So then you could say let Fahrenheit temp equals, and we'll call temperature, right? Right, our first parenthesis, and we got to do the conversion. So we'll say, so let's say if it was 95 degrees Fahrenheit, okay. So it's, it performed the math for us, right? So now what we want to do is, we want to know what that is in Celsius. So all you got to do is you'll be able to print, you can say Fahrenheit temp dot, and as you can see, it's the only property that's available, dot Celsius. And when it converts, it's 35 degrees. All right, so that was one example of creating, a custom initializer. All right, so, we learned a lot in this video. If you need to, guys, be sure to rewatch this video a couple times if, for things to sink in and do some practice. Look over some spots in the book too. All right, I'm trying my best to, to kind of get, the meat of everything in these videos, but definitely do some reading up on, on it yourself as well. But stay tuned because we have some more things to discuss when it comes to structs and following lessons. Take care.